What's up guys, it's Flossin, and welcome to my Deadly Assault guide. Deadly Assault is by far the best game mode we have in Zenless when it comes to in-game content, and while there are many videos showing you the limits of how far you can push your agents, I wanted to give you an actual explanation of my thought process when going into this mode. So today, I'm going to be doing just that, showing you 3 of my personal teams, giving you some insight on how I perceive the game, and showing you that you can do this even with mistakes, or you have lots of room to optimize these runs if you're a veteran player looking for more points. If this video ends up helping you out, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. It's completely free and lets me know that you enjoy this type of content. Now, with formalities out of the way, let's talk games. So I want to give a little disclaimer before we go in. I've made this guide to be as universal as possible. It would be too much of a workload to give you guys insights on clears every time Deadly Assault changes, and I don't have access to every agent in the game. So I'm hoping to make this one as broad as possible, while also providing you the knowledge you need to clear this content. Also, there are a couple things I want to say before we get into the actual runs. The first is everyone on these teams are either S ranks at M0 or A ranks at M6. There are also no 5-star engines being used on anyone in these runs. They're all strictly A ranks with multiple copies. All of the agents' builds will be at the end of the video for you to check out yourself if you want to see the actual stats of the agents and how they were built. But I will be referring to their builds a little bit during my actual runs since it's important for the explanation of things. Alright, with that said, let's get started. So, when approaching these runs, the first and most important thing you want to look at is the buffs and debuffs for Deadly Assault. Every Deadly Assault has 3 buffs you can pick from, and you want to pick the buff that works well with the team you're bringing in. Now, sometimes, some buffs may not work as well as you thought during a run, and you might want to switch it out and try another. But this all really depends on your playstyle of the agents and what works best, like I said. Now, anyway, let's talk about Bringer. So, before I even step foot into fighting Bringer, I like to read the enemy details on his tab here. I know this seems pretty obvious, but you would be really surprised the amount of free points you can get just from understanding what these buffs do for your team. So, going into reading this time around, our agents will gain an increase in attack every time we disorder an enemy or trigger an anomaly on them. So, that immediately tells me as a player, I'm going to have an easier time with an anomaly focused team. And because Bringer is weak to ice, I decided to bring Miyabi, Burnice, and Soukaku. Also, down at the bottom of the text, it says we will receive 2,000 points whenever we interrupt Bringer from chanting. If you don't know what that means, don't worry, I'll show you in the actual footage. Alright, so here we are jumping into the gameplay, but I want to pause really quickly because like I said earlier, our job in going into Deadly Assault is to make our life as easy as possible. And for me to do that is by applying Burnice's Afterburn onto Bringer as quickly as possible. So you'll see here that instead of running into the fight with Miyabi, I actually run in with Burnice, holding my basic attack and then parrying into Miyabi. Now again, there's ways to maximize these runs, but I made these mistakes on purpose to show you that you can clear just as well or even better than me. Anyway, back to the footage. I run up and apply Afterburn and switch to Miyabi. Now, with Bringer's buffs in mind, the main game plan here is to cause anomaly or disorder as much as possible. And since Burnice already has her Afterburn on Bringer, we're just going to take this time to spam away with Miyabi on the field. So, nothing crazy here, just filling up her anomaly bar. And then stop here. So, I parry with Soukaku. Why? Well, the main reason is because we need to get Soukaku's buff up for the team. Right now, Soukaku is running the 4-piece Astral Voice, and we want to get that uptime as quick as possible. So I parry with Soukaku for the extra decibels and energy, and I use all of her EX special meter and then go right back into Miyabi. Now you'll notice that we didn't get the quick assist on Soukaku, but that's completely fine because we're really just trying to build up her orbs so she can provide that quick assist later. Anyway, continuing on here. And we'll stop right here. So we just applied the Shatter Anomaly onto Bringer, and you'll notice in the top left that Burnice's bar is completely gone, meaning she's no longer burning the enemy. You'll notice that once I unpause here, I instantly switch to her and fill her gauge back up. Not only are we refilling her meter, but we're also applying tons of burn onto Bringer, which is gonna cause a disorder to trigger. And boom, I'll stop right here. So, we just triggered disorder on the Bringer. Now, looking at the top left of the screen, we have Miyabi at full stacks. All we want to do here is switch Miyabi in and burn those stacks as fast as possible. You'll see here that I waste no time. I switch into Miyabi, I use her hold basic attack, and right after, I use her EX special twice since she has enough energy. And I go right back into another hold basic attack. Only this time, while Miyabi is in her animation, I switch to Soukaku to finish out her buffs on her orb. This is a move I like to call switch tech. While someone is currently on the field or finishing their animation, you're actually in control of somebody else on your team entirely. This tech is really small, but is actually very important when it comes to this game. Knowing which moves you can freely switch tech on allows for optimization in these runs. But anyway, back to the footage. So I've just switched tech with Miyabi into Soukaku. And you'll see here that I finish her last orb and provide the quick assist to Miyabi. Doing that is going to proc our 4-piece astral voice for the whole team, which is giving us an increase in her damage. So I switch back to Miyabi. And right here, I could have held my ult. I probably should have for the stun window, but like I said, mistakes happen, it's fine. This isn't the end all be all to your deadly assault run. Anyway, we move on here, and Miyabi gets her full stacks into a hold basic attack. After that, we ult with Soukaku. Now, I'm doing this again for her quick assist buff. At the end of her animation, Soukaku gives a quick assist to her own personal buffs to the next agent to come onto the field. Anyway, moving on. Okay, and I want to stop here. Again, I know there's a lot of pausing going on, I'm sorry. It's important just for this first rotation, but notice here that I'm starting to chain attack on Bringer with Soukaku. I'm actually doing this so I can directly buff a specific agent on the team with Soukaku. So what do I mean by that? Well, usually Soukaku will only buff the agent she quick assists to, basically Miyabi in this case. However, if you start a chain attack with her, or follow up her chain attack with somebody else, she will actually directly give that buff to them instead. So in this case, I'm directly giving Soukaku's buff to Burnice, since Miyabi already has the earlier buffs provided from Soukaku. So you'll see here, after the chain attack, boom, Burnice has all of Soukaku's buffs. And when we switch into Miyabi here, you'll see too that she also has Soukaku's buffs. These are all the small things that go into playing this team that take it to the next level of reaching higher points. So after this chain attack, you'll see I'll cancel the last one because there's really no point to continue on. And then I immediately switch Miyabi out into Burnice's ultimate to refill her heat bar. So I'll let this play out for a little bit, and I'll touch on Bringer's chant that was in his description. Alright, so here, after we've completed the stun window, after Bringer is back up, this is where he's going to go into his chant mode. And usually, if I have the right build on, I actually break this arm no problem. But because I'm running an A rank engine, I just instantly ult. Is this a waste? I don't think so, because interrupting this chant is a guaranteed 2,000 points on Bringer. I'd rather have those points under my belt than to wait for another stun cycle. And so after this chant, it's basically rinse and repeat of what we just learned in this portion of the video. So the main things to keep in mind for this specific run is this. Number 1, proccing your anomalies or disorders, managing not only your EX specials, but your meters for each individual agent, switch tech, trying to incorporate it into your playstyle, figuring out which moves allow you or don't allow you to use switch tech, and using your knowledge of agents to your advantage. In this case, it would be Soukaku and her buffs. It's very important knowing that Soukaku can buff both teammates instead of just one, because once you're aware of that, it makes you realize that you don't need super crazy agents like Astriao to buff her team. Alright, so moving on to Unknown Corruption Complex. Just like Bringer, the game plan stays the same here. What is my team trying to do, and how can I do that as much as possible? In this case, I have my free-to-play Zhu Yuan team, and the goal here is to stun the enemy and have Zhu Yuan unload her bullets in the stun window, right? However, the nuance of this team comes from proccing the anomaly ether onto the enemy. Now, like I said, this is just how I have my personal agents build, but it's very important to the gameplay. So, my Zhu Yuan is on a 4-piece chaotic metal, which increases her crit damage by 20% when an enemy is inflicted with an ether anomaly, and this effect increases as long as we keep hitting the enemy while they're corrupted. So, with that in mind, we know that the game plan is to stun the enemy, but while they're stunned, we want to make sure that they are corrupted with ether, and that's actually where Nicole slots into this team very well. She's honestly incredible at building up Ether Anomaly onto an enemy, so good that I decided to give her 4th disc Anomaly Proficiency main stat to help with the actual Ether damage. Also, in UCC's enemy details, it states that breaking this guy's legs will provide the on-field agent with 1000 decibels for free. So, if you're really trying to min-max this fight, you want to make sure you have your specific agent on the field to take advantage of those decibels. Okay, so there's not as much going on in this team as the last one, so there won't be as many pauses, but there'll still be very crucial pauses to the gameplay loop. So, we see here, I start off by running in with Nicole and just doing some basic attacks with her to build up her EX special meter. Then I switch into Anby and start building stun on this enemy. So, Anby's on the field for a while here, and instead of using my assist points to parry, I'm actually using Anby's dodge counter, and again, that's because of the way that I have her built. Anby's core passive gives her energy whenever she dodge counters, and her signature W engine increases her energy regen when she dodge counters as well. So you'll see here that I do decide to evasive assist with Zhu Yuan, and you might ask why. And this is because the whole plan of this team is to burst the enemy when they're stunned. And to burst it down, we need to build up Zhu Yuan's decibels so she has her ultimate ready. So I switch in and I fill her bullets up to the max. Now, I actually don't want max bullets for Zhu Yuan when she goes into the chain attack rotation, because she actually gains them when we're opening up the stun window. She gains 3 bullets from her chain attack and 1 bullet from her quick assist. So because her bullets are full here, I decided to opt for an out of stun burst rotation with her and Nicole. You'll see here that I switch into Nicole and I shoot out her EX special. Now, this Nicole orb is very important because it's doing a number of things right now. Number 1, it's providing a defense shred to the enemy, which you can see being displayed in the top right corner. Number 2, her additional ability is being procced thanks to Zhu Yuan, so she's giving the team a 25% ether damage bonus. And 3, because Nicole is M6, she's giving my team a free 15% crit rate boost that lasts for 12 seconds. So, in short, Nicole is just juicing up Zhu Yuan's damage here, even though it's not in the stun window. So, continuing on, you'll see I use a portion of Zhu Yuan's bullets while the defense shred and buffs are going on. Then I use her EX special for a couple more bullets, and then it's back to Anby. Doing all this is important because not only is it giving us free damage, but it's building up the decibels for each agent on the team. And that plays a very important role when we get into the burst window. So, I just initiated the chain attack on the enemy, and I actually messed this up. Usually, I would initiate with Nicole because I have her on 4-piece swing jazz, which increases all chain attack damage, but like I said, mistakes happen. This isn't meant to be clean. So, because I messed up on my rotation, how do I salvage this? Well, the game plan doesn't change. We want to burst this guy down while he has ether on him, and the best way to do that is to chain into Nicole so she applies her buffs like before, and then end with Zhu Yuan. And right here, you'll see that we proc the ether anomaly with Zhu Yuan. So now, a mental note in your head, the 4-piece chaotic metal is working in our favor. And because Nicole just applied her debuff, we can unload all of our bullets onto the enemy. And once she's out of bullets, you'll see that I switch to Nicole, reapply her buff, and quick assist into Zhu Yuan. Doing all of this and the previous steps we did before gives Zhu Yuan enough decibels to proc her ultimate in the first rotation. And I wasted no time and instantly pressed the ultimate while the ether defense shred is still onto the enemy. Really solid pressure here, and now it's just rinse and repeat. Only this second time around, I actually do my rotation the right way with Nicole proccing the chain. So again, it's back to Anby building up stun. And you'll see here, once we get to those high level of stun numbers, I actually switch Nicole in and hold her EX special to finish off the last stun meter. You can also see in this frame here that the anomaly bar for Ether is basically at max. So once this chain attack starts, this guy is going to be Ether corrupted, which again works in our Zhu Yuan's favor with her 4-piece chaotic metal. So boom, Nicole starts the chain. I use Anby's chain attack for extra damage. I then follow it up with Zhu Yuan's chain attack, and I'll stop right here. So I actually used the Bang Boo's chain attack instead of going straight into Nicole. And this is because the Bang Boo is actually providing us with solid anomaly buildup as well. Since our team is structured around proccing Ether, having this guy apply a bit of Ether himself works in our favor. But anyway, we end on Nicole here and jump right into Zhu Yuan. And you'll see that once Zhu Yuan's bullets are gone, I switch back into Nicole and pop her ult. Now, I'm doing this for one main reason, and that's because Nicole's ultimate gives the team 10 energy, and the person that uses her next quick assist, in this case Zhu Yuan, gets an extra 20 energy for free, which helps Zhu Yuan gain more bullets in a shorter period of time. So you'll see here, before I switch, she had pretty low energy, then I switch into her, now she's gained a little bit more. And again, this is all just rinse and repeat. So I won't play the whole thing out with commentary, but these are the main things I'm keeping in mind in this fight. Number 1, bullet management. Although it's good to have lots of bullets on Zhu Yuan, you don't want them maxed out when you start chain attacking or using quick assists, because you miss out on free bullets. 2, an understanding of your mindscapes is very, very important. I didn't go into everything Nicole provides with her mindscapes, but the biggest one is her free 15% crit rate at M6. This changes your builds around, and if you aren't aware of it, you can easily start overcapping your agents on crit rate. And number 3, an understanding of disk drives. Although I'm sure I could have beaten this boss without chaotic metal, knowing that we get free crit damage every time an enemy is corrupted makes my life a lot easier. It takes the physical mechanics and skill out of the equation and tests your understanding of the actual game itself. TLDR, work smarter, not harder. Alright, and the last run I want to cover is over Pompey with an all A rank team. Just like the 2 other bosses, what's the game plan here? Again, depends on the agents you run, but I chose these 3. So, my personal game plan is to proc Assault as much as possible onto Pompey with Piper, and to have Pulchra open up stun windows for me. So, like the other bosses, it's important to read Pompey's details, but the biggest one for me, at least for this run specifically, is that Pompey is going to give us free points every time we perfect dodge his attacks. 200 points every time. So if you're planning on farming those points, it's important to know that you won't be parrying as much in this fight. Alright, so before we get into this fight, I want to say that this run is definitely showing off more knowledge of the game. I'm not gonna lie, this run took me about 20 tries, and I actually put myself at a major disadvantage going into this fight, even though I was still able to clear. The first and biggest disadvantage is that I'm not using a fire DPS. Like we saw on Pompey's info card screen, he's weak to fire, so I really have no business bringing Piper into this content. It's quite literally making my life harder. The second is that Piper and Pulchra actually have anti-synergy to an extent. So Piper's an anomaly agent, right? And she benefits from having her attacks do the most buildup on enemies. However, Pulchra's aftershock attacks also build up physical anomaly. And since she has poor anomaly stats, this is just hurting my assault damage overall. So, not only am I bringing the wrong element into this fight, I'm also lowering my damage output, and I'm not using the agents that I have on my account to my advantage. For example, Astrial, right? So, with all these disadvantages in mind, you will see here just how much of a perfectionist you have to be to clear something like this. And again, I don't really think I'm that good at this game, and I'm sure there are other people who can do way better than me with this team. But I'm showing you this to emphasize one point. To clear in-game content, it can go one of 2 ways. You can either have low investment in your team and require high levels of game sense or knowledge, or you can have high levels of investment with low or medium levels of knowledge. However, whichever path you go on when it comes to your account, you will always have to know how the fundamentals of the game work if you want to clear. As much as people say you can face roll with Miyabi, I promise you, you cannot clear in-game content with her without knowing how she works. Alright, with that being said, let's jump into this A rank clear with Pompey. So, first thing, what am I doing here? I'm setting up all 3 boards on the field so they're actually ready to deal damage. Usually, Lucy's EX special will spawn all 3 boards in, but because we have no meter starting this fight, I'm just batting them in on my own before the fight actually starts. So the fight starts, and like we said before, we need Piper to proc Anomaly and Pulchra to open stun windows. So to start off, I evasive assist with Pulchra to get her aftershock attacks ready. Now, one thing to note when playing Pulchra, the only way to use her aftershock attacks is by finishing a special attack or an EX special attack. And that phrase is very important. Finishing a special attack or EX special. So once I switch back into Piper, you'll notice that I start her EX special, but I end it very quickly, which triggers Pulchra's aftershock attacks onto the enemy. So now, Pulchra is building days onto Pompey. I'm going to take this time to build up free points off of perfect dodging with Piper. And the moment I notice Pulchra is out of stacks, I quick assist back into her and refill her gauge. Now, like we said earlier, Pulchra will only use these attacks if an EX special has finished hitting the enemy. And this is actually where Lucy comes in. So you'll notice that instead of trying to EX special with Piper again, I actually use Lucy to my advantage and quickly get her EX special out. Not only is this enabling Pulchra, but it's also putting her team-wide buff out for everybody. So you'll actually see me do this rotation a lot, filling up Pulchra's attacks and then double switching into Lucy. It's the best way that I've found to keep Pulchra's uptime on her aftershock attacks. So now that we have that established, we want to start building up Assault with Piper. And Piper's gimmick is to have as many stacks of power as possible, which is indicated in the top left of the screen when she's on field. So it's really important for her to find these small windows where she can spin to win, to not only build up those stacks, but to maintain them as well. And this is why I said that this team gets very complicated and very difficult quick. Because right now, we're basically managing 3 bars all at once. Pulchra's aftershock attacks, Lucy's attack buff, and Piper's power stacks. So I'll let this play out here. Again, whenever we see downtime on Pulchra, we're looking for opening windows on how to keep her building up days. And now we just switch into Pulchra, ult, and start the stun window. So while in the stun window, there's a couple key things I'm looking for. Number 1 is how much physical buildup am I doing or I've already done. I want to make sure that I'm constantly pushing the anomaly bars so I can trigger more assaults. Number 2, how long does Piper have on her power stacks? So Piper actually runs out of these stacks really quickly if you aren't aware of what you're doing. So it's important that we finish these chain attacks without her running out of power. Whenever I'm chain attacking the boss, I'm actually not looking at the boss at all. I'm just looking at my reserve of energy and meters that I have on my agents. And the last one, number 3, which ultimates do I currently have open? In this case, it was Piper, so I opted to instantly use her ult after the quick assist from Lucy. And after she procs her assault with her ult, this is where I cash in all of my resources on Piper. Before, I was being really wary of how much meter I was using on Pompey, but now that he's stunned and he's not going anywhere, I'm going all in on Piper's spin to win game. And the only reason why I'm using all of this energy is because I have Lucy's ultimate up. And Lucy's ultimate, just like Nicole's, gives the next agent on field 30 energy, which Piper really needs for this team to work. So after Lucy's ult, we assist back into Piper, and we finish a special attack to start off Pulchra's aftershock attacks again. And alas, rinse and repeat. But I want to make this known to help you in the long run. If you can make your life easier, then you should do it 100%. Like I said, this run took me about 20 to 25 tries to do. And I'll be real, I was not having fun, okay? There were so many times where I reached 18k, 19k, 19.7k. It was very frustrating. But I'm showing you this to emphasize the point of game sense and knowledge. Even when you have the wrong element or anti-synergy in your team, knowing the game triumphs everything. You don't need Miyabi, you don't need Astrial. It all comes down to your extent of knowledge of the fundamentals. Here are the top things this team teaches you. Number 1, heavy meter management. For this team to work, you have to know precise timing for when Pulchra comes in to either EX special or evasive assist an enemy, as well as how to maintain Piper's power stacks without completely depleting her meter. Number 2, double quick assist. This is something I'm sure we'll see more of, but because of characters like Pulchra who provide a quick assist to agents before them, you'll have to get used to pressing the assist button twice if you want to skip to an agent like Lucy on the team. And number 3 is switch tech knowledge. Now switch tech is actually very important to this team because if you use it at the wrong time, Pulchra will never proc her aftershock attacks. This goes back into what I said earlier about agents needing to finish their entire EX special attack. If I'm in the middle of finishing Piper's EX special and then I switch to Lucy on field, Pulchra's aftershock attacks won't trigger. And same goes vice versa. If I use Lucy's EX special, but I switch on to Piper too quick, Pulchra's aftershock attacks won't trigger. Anyway, that was my Deadly Assault guide. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope this helped you out a little bit in your own personal runs. I know that I am using my own personal agents, but I unfortunately don't have access to every character in the game, and I'll be honest, we would be here forever if I try to go through them all. But I hope that this did open your eyes a little bit to the more nuanced things that are going on in real time. Again, all the builds will be here at the end of the video if you want to check out my stats or maybe the engines or 2-piece drives that I ran as well. Thank you guys so much for your support. We're almost at 7,000 subscribers, which is insane. You guys are the reason why I keep pushing these videos out, so I appreciate every single one of you. But until next time, happy gaming,
Bye.
and may your pulls be ever in your favor.